Hi friends, welcome to Kids Kitchen. It's Miss Christina, and today I'm going to show you how to make Earth Day cookies. So Earth Day is April 22nd this year, and it's the day when we celebrate and talk about the wonderful planet that we live on. So I thought we would make some cool cookies to celebrate. Now, when you look at a picture of the Earth, what colors are the most prominent? Blue and green, right? Blue for the water, green for the land. So we're going to make our cookies blue and green, like the earth. And we could not be making an easier recipe because we're going to use a mix, a sugar cookie mix that you can buy at the store. You can also do homemade sugar cookies, but I'm going to use this just because it's a little easier. If you get the refrigerated one, like the big tube, you can use that also. Then you don't even have to prepare it. But we're going to make our dough for this demonstration using this. So if you are using a mix, all of the ingredients that you need are going to be listed on the back, and they're all a little different. So make sure you read the instructions to see what you need. Sometimes you'll need an egg or vegetable oil. For this particular one, all I need is half a stick of butter and a tablespoon of water. So super easy. So you want to make sure that you have your ingredients all ready to go. So I have butter here and a tablespoon to measure the water. So whenever you're baking, if the prep doesn't take too long, you want to set your oven first and then prepare everything while your oven is preheating. That way, by the time you're ready with your dough or whatever you're making, it's ready to go in the oven. The oven's nice and heated up to the temperature that you need. So again, make sure you look on your package. So for this one, it says to heat the oven to 375 degrees. So everyone's oven is a little different. I'm using the one in the library. So I'm gonna set it here. Bake 375. Okay, so that's preheating and we're gonna make our dough. So again, following the instructions, we're just going to mix everything in a bowl. Now, for this particular recipe, you're going to need 2 bowls, but we're going to start with everything in one, so we make the dough first. And then we're going to split it in half and dye it blue and green. So I'm just going to dump my mix in here. And then I need 1/4 cup or half a stick of butter. So the wonderful thing about these packages of butter is it has everything measured out for you. So you need 4 tablespoons. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, it's written right there and it's half. So we're just gonna cut it off and drop it in. So you grab a knife. I don't see one here. So oh, here we go. That's a monster one. Make sure you get an adult to help you with this part, just because knives can be a little dangerous. So I've got half a stick of butter. Ooh, it's a little melty. Half a stick of butter here, and I'm just gonna drop it into my dough. Okay, and now my hands are all full of butter, so that's why we like to keep some paper towels or dish towels nearby so you can clean off as you go. Okay, and then I need a tablespoon of water. So I got my water here and just drop it in. And then mix it up. So let's see. It's kind of hard to see because the bowl and the mix are both white. But you just want to mix it until everything is combined. And that's why if your package calls for butter, you want to make sure that it's softened. Mine said specifically not to melt it. So you can just leave it out on the counter for a little bit to kind of get it more room temperature, or you can even put it in the microwave for a few seconds. I wouldn't do more than 5 seconds at a time, just to make it nice and soft. Otherwise, if it's really hard, it's going to be very difficult to stir everything and to get it combined. So I kind of like to take my spoon and press it down like this. That way it's pushing the butter into the dry mixture and really combining it there. So we just do this. And as you know, before you cook or bake or anything, you always want to wash your hands first. So if your hands are nice and clean, you can just mix it with your fingers if you want. But I'm going to keep going with my spoon. It's almost nice and combined. And if you are using pre-made dough, there are a few different ways that it comes in the store. It's going to be in the refrigerated section first. And it might be in like a tube. If you use one of those, you can just dump the tube of dough into a bowl. And you shouldn't have to mix it or anything. Or sometimes you can buy the cookies that are already cut into cookie shapes, the circles. If you're doing that, then you're just going to split it in half once we get to the part where we dye our dough. Okay, it's getting there. Kind of an arm workout, mixing our dough. I have again, my hands are clean. I have a big hunk of butter on here that is not getting mixed, so I just use my hands for that. Okay, so my dough is pretty well combined, but see how it's not like a big ball. It's kind of in hunks like that. I'm going to use my hands to get it really combined well and sort of like a ball. And that's going to make it a little bit easier to measure it because, as I said, we're going to be dyeing our dough and we need to cut it in half basically. So there, now it's all nice and combined. So I'm going to make a circle. Or a sphere. I have a big ball of dough and I'm going to break it in half, and I'm going to put half in one bowl and half in another. So it doesn't have to be perfectly even. Just kind of estimate. So there, half and half. 1, 2. And again, if you're using a big tube of cookie dough or the little circles, then you want to just cut it in half. Combine the little pre-made cookies into half and put them in your bowl. So here I have my dough. Now I'm going to take some blue food coloring and put it in one. Okay, so I pushed it down a little bit so it's kind of flat on the top, a nice surface, and I'm going to put just a little bit of dye, a couple drops. If it's not dark enough, you can add more. Okay, and then you're going to mix it up again. And you can use your hands for this too, and if you're worried about your fingers getting dyed by the dough, you can use gloves. I always get messy when I'm cooking, so I'm not going to use gloves. But you want to mix it all really well. It's looking pretty cool. And you know, make it as dark or as light as you want. So the blue again represents the ocean. So if you want a really dark ocean, then you can use more food coloring. But if you want it kind of light and pastel and springy, then you can keep it a lighter shade. So let me show you. There is my blue cookie dough. I'm pretty happy with it, but we're going to set it off to the side and work on the green one, and then you can kind of see if the colors look good together, so you can always adjust it after. So let me get that off of my spoon. I'm just gonna wipe so there's no more blue food coloring on there. And then I'm gonna do the same thing. So I'm gonna make a little indent in the top of my dough just with my hands like that. And I'm gonna drop some green food coloring. And mix it up. And you can use any kind of food coloring. It can be the liquid or the gel. I tend to find the liquid works a little bit easier. You might have to mix more when you use the gel just because it's thicker. But either one works just fine. And then in the future, you can use the same technique to do any colors you want, and you can make cool like, tie-dye cookies, which would be fun to do in summer. Okay. Get that all mixed up. Ready to go. Okay. All right, so this is what I have so far. I have my green and my blue. And then if I kind of look at them together, I think I want my blue to be a little bit darker. That green turned out darker than I expected. So I'm gonna add a little bit more blue. And mix that up. And if you have any food allergies, you can totally use different ingredients. So like if you are gluten-free, they have gluten-free sugar cookie mix. Or again, if you're making it homemade, then you can control what goes in there, and you can use gluten-free flour or flour substitute. So it's really nice that you can customize it. Okay, it's a little bit darker. I think I like that shade of blue better. So now is the fun part when you get to mix the green and the blue into your cookies. So you can take a little bit of each one, and you're going to kind of mold it so that it has a cool pattern. So I've got some blue and some green here, and you can kind of, eventually you want it to be in a ball, but you can sort of map out how you want it to look when it's in its cookie form. So you want it to look like the earth. So you've got some blue and some green mixed in there. You can make a cool pattern. I think that looks pretty cool. So then you make it a little bit rounder because you want your cookies, the dough to be in a ball, and then when it's baking, it'll flatten. So I like that one. I think that looks pretty cool. So I'm gonna put that on here, and then I'll show you one more, and then I'm going to skip through so you don't have to watch me making all the cookies. So for this one, I want some more blue than green. And again, you just kind of push them together however you want your earth to look. You can make it as accurate as you want, but I'm just kind of making a free-form sort of design here. So there's that one. Pretty cool. So you just kind of play with it and mold it to however you want. So when you're done with all of your dough and you've made all of your cookies, make sure when you put them on your cookie sheet, you leave a little bit of space between. So it depends on how much mix you have. I have one that's only to make 12 cookies. There's less, so I don't have to worry so much about the space on the cookie sheet because there's only going to be a few of them. But leave a little bit of space because you know when you're baking cookies, the dough flattens and spreads out, and then they might end up touching. But in that case, you can just cut them out. So you're gonna fill up your cookie sheet with your dough balls, and then you put it in the oven for however long your package says. So again, check the back. Mine is for 7 to 9 minutes. And it says once they're golden brown, we've dyed ours, so it's a little bit harder to tell, but you'll be able to see that they're not so soft anymore and that they're a little bit crunchy. So I'm gonna finish making mine and pop mine in the oven. Again, remember to be very careful. Use oven mitts, protect your hands, or have a grown-up help you. And then I will show you when they're all done. All right, friends, it's been about 9 minutes, so I just took my cookies out. And do you know a nice, easy way to test them? It's to use either a fork or a toothpick and insert it right in the center and see if it comes out clean. So I did that. My fork came out clean. That means they're done. So I just wanted to show you my Earth Day cookies. They turned out really good. I'm so excited. Hopefully you can see the patterns there. But now, when you take your cookies out of the oven, you want to leave them, to sit for a little bit, usually about, 3 to 5 minutes so that they cool down and they kind of finish cooking or baking. Because you can see they're a little puffy right now. So as they continue to harden with the heat of the cookie sheet, they'll be perfectly ready to go and they'll be cool enough to eat. So I hope you try out these Earth Day cookies and let us know how they come out. I'd love to see them. And we'll see you next time. Bye.